Y- You are mute.
Yes, thank you, Arindam. So I was indeed on a mute, so that's why it is called, online session, right? That we have this webinar. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending from where you are joining. Welcome to our new Cloud Launch and Learn session. Today we will have our speaker, Arindam. Probably you are familiar with him and his session from previous ones. And we are going to talk all about Hashi Packer, and we'll look into some sessions where Arindam will demonstrate some, scenarios, basically two approaches where he will build the images using the uh, Azure environment and using the Packer. So we'll have two approaches that Arindam will discuss. I'm pretty sure he will go into pros and cons, which one to use when and what are the good use cases. But before jumping into the session, I want to introduce Arindam. He's a Microsoft MVP and he's also a cloud engineer and DevOps professional who has good presence on GitHub, and I believe the whole presentation, the whole session is going to have no PowerPoint. So if you are not a PowerPoint person, you want to see more of an action, more GitHub, DevOps kind of stuff, this is the session for you. Giving back to Arindam. Go ahead, Arindam. Do you want to tease our users with a little bit what you are going to show today, and then.
Sure,
Mhm.
sure. Thank you so much, Alkan. My name is Arundam Mitra, and I am basically like a cloud and DevOps architect. I am a speaker and blogger. I always blog on Azure DevOps. That's my core area. I try to automate everything possible wherever it's possible. Automation is a passion which I drive. I do my automation in PowerShell, AZCLI, Terraform, Biceps, and now I'm also taking a deep dive in Terraform CDK. This is what I do. I am based out in Switzerland, and I work for Axpo Solutions. That's a trading company where I am a cloud services lead. Apart from this, I love traveling. Uh, this is one of my greatest passion of traveling as many countries as possible to see the culture, the foods, and everything around in each country has to provide, has to offer. And I am also right now into preparing for my half marathon this year. So this is all a little bit about myself.
Nice. Sounds like you have a lot to unpack. So, and interesting traveling ahead of you. So, let's share your screen here and, give the stage to you. I'll
Sure.
disappear here. And for our users, if you have any questions, please use the chat. Um, and I'll bring your questions. So I'm going to disappear now. All the stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, as I mentioned, that my name is again Arundam Mitra, and I am an MVP in developer technologies and a technical blogger speaker focused around cloud adoption, architecture, automation, build and run. This is my GitHub page, where I typically put everything. All my details are here. I blog in dev.to. I have my presence on LinkedIn, Twitter, Session Nights, Facebook. My email address is here, and you can see my overall stats. It's not 48 blogs, but it's mostly like 50 blogs which I've published. So these are all my blog series. The podcast I have participated, and overall speaker sessions, which I have done since year 2022. It's close to now more than 30 sessions which I provided. And in Cloud Lunch and Learn, Hugo Barona, a huge thank you for him and the whole Cloud Lunch and Learn team for the great opportunity. This is my sixth time, I think, if I'm correct. I'm presenting in Cloud Lunch and Learn. And you can find all my details out here. Feel free to browse at your own time. So this is about it. So this is my dev.to where I publish my blogs. So here you can see that all the things, everything which I write about. Today, what I'm going to present is HashiCorp Packer. So in HashiCorp Packer, I'm going to show you that how you are going to build a Windows image using HashiCorp Packer command line. That is the first approach, of course, because when you develop an automation, you would always like to see that how the whole technology or the tooling which you're using is behaving like um, behaving natively, like you're firing the commands, you see the outputs, you troubleshoot the errors before you actually jump into pipelines. Because when you're running a pipeline, you're running on it can be on a Microsoft hosted agent or maybe a self-hosted agent, but you're running on a different compute, and sometimes it gets really difficult to troubleshoot. So it's always essential that you're always doing it first natively, like command line, firing few commands, seeing the behavior outputs, and getting yourself familiar with. So this is about that. So this is the first series is about the native command line and everything, and the next is about how I integrated the HashiCorp Packer with Azure DevOps to build the same Windows image, but this time I'm not doing with command line, but I'm doing it completely like CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous deployment. Before I start, a little bit about this. So I am also in Sessionize, and as you can see that I have been also awarded as the most active speaker in year 2023, apart from my MVP award. Um, I am also in LinkedIn, so you can see that and you can find everything. So I normally publish my whatever everything is published and everything. I keep on updating here in LinkedIn. I'm also in Twitter. I normally use Twitter only to post my blogs and my speaker session, my podcast, and everything. So I'm not that active in Twitter, but I do respond if somebody is reaching out to me. And this is all about myself. So what I will do is I will quickly jump into the topic, which is like the HashiCorp Packer with Azure natively. Okay. So as you can see that I have like two-part series. Of course, this series is going to grow, but I started with this, and then I thought that okay, I will present in Cloud Lunch and Learn, and then probably I will keep on growing this because it has a lot of potential of having various different kind of automation around HashiPacker. So again, Packer is a tooling offered by HashiCorp. This and with Packer, what I'm doing is I'm building Windows-based image, um, a Windows-based image, so that this image can then be like it's customizable based on your project needs or your organization needs. And then instead of taking an image from an Azure marketplace, you are creating your own custom image with all the toolings and everything which you require based on your organization and your project needs. And that can be a golden image from which you are building up your VMs, or you are building up any of your compute systems. That is the whole use case around Packer and why we are using Packer. Okay, so this is something about it. Now, since I'm going to show you that how I built this whole thing. So let me talk a little bit about this one. So here you see that I have mentioned that how to automate image build with Packer in Azure. So we are exclusively talking about Packer alone and the Packer command line. Here in this article, we are not talking about Azure DevOps. It comes a little later. So this is about this. Again, thank you to Hugo Barona and Cloud Lunch and Learn team, for giving me the opportunity to present here. I normally put the meetup groups banner and everything because they are doing a lot, and because of them, people like us is able to build an automation and gets a platform to present it. So again, huge thank you. This is my code repository where you can go. You can click on this, and then it will land up into the same location which I'm going to show you right now. So this is my GitHub repo. GitHub repo, you see that I have a little bit of a README file where I'm just providing you that okay, this is the topic and this is a link where you can go. But when you go inside each of the folders, like this is a Packer. So you see from the name, build Windows image with Packer CLI. You get to see that you not only get to see the code, which is this one, okay, but you also have a README file. And this README file has the exact same content which you see in the blog, which means that, sorry, the screen, which means that the blog which I write normally in my dev.to is version controlled. So it's the same thing you can find in my GitHub as well. So this is what is there. It's the same thing, same content which I'm showing you in my dev.to. Okay. So coming back to this one, so this is where is my GitHub, and then I mentioned exclusively to my readers that the provider, cloud provider here where I tested my code is exclusively Microsoft Azure, and for this blog post I am just considering Windows image because you can also build Linux image with Packer. So here, since my automation for Linux is not yet ready, so I am doing the entire demo only on the Windows image using Packer. Prerequisites, again, most important, you need an Azure subscription, you need an Azure resource group. Why do you need an Azure resource group? Because it's the container, it's a placeholder where your image is going to be created. Okay, an Azure service principal, of course, you need an Azure service principal because Packer as a tool needs an identity to authenticate in Azure. Because unless and until there is an identity which Packer can use, it cannot build the VMs, and only after building the VM it can then convert into an image and then decommission the temporary VM which has been created. We are going to see it in a little while. And when the service principal identity is created in the Entra ID directory services, of course, that has to be mapped into the subscription or into the resource group where you plan to deploy your image. So in order to have that, that okay, you have the permission, you need the contributor rights, owner, contributor, typically those kind of rights, RBAC model, those kind of RBAC role-based access control is required. And since I'm running natively, like, I'm just using Packer and nothing else, then of course, I need, and when whichever VM from where I'm running the Packer to build the image, I need to have Packer installed in that compute. So again, how do you get Packer? So you have to go to packer.io. You click on install Packer. Once you go there, you have the binaries available. When you see the binaries, I took the x64 version, which is the AMD 64. I downloaded. It is just an executable file, which I placed in my C drive. I created a folder called Packer, and inside that, I just copied and pasted that executable file. That's all. It is not an MSI package where you have to do a next, and finish, but it is just an executable which you just download, and from your download folders, copy it in a place from where you can execute. Of course, this path you can also add to your compute's environmental variables so that it can be recognized from any universal path. You don't have to be in that path itself. But I didn't do it because I was just testing it out. But of course, in the real world scenario, you should be doing that. So this is what I ran the command packer.exe, and just to check that the help command is working. If it works, it means that it is running. So again, whatever I'm showing you here, let's go and check in the real life. So I'm in packer.io. You click on install Packer, you exactly land up into the binaries. You see the Windows one here. So I downloaded this. Once I download it, and then you can just copy and paste it. Okay. Cool. So then I come back to my blog again. So then, so the most important part is that, to understand the Packer terminology. Why you need to understand Packer terminology is because in order to build a Windows image, you have to create a Packer template. And in order to create a Packer template, you have to understand that, okay, what are the terminologies which are important? So again, go to the sites and out here, and you see that, if I was initially here, this was my screen, okay? You go to docs. Once you go to docs, you go to terminology. Once you go to terminology, you see all the things which is required in order to build a Packer file, okay? Now remember that when you're creating a Packer file, it always has to be .pkr.hcl, okay? That is the naming convention, or that is the extension that Packer recognizes, okay? Packer basically accepts two kind of file types. One is JSON, another HCL. HCL is a new inclusion from HashiCorp. Earlier, it was only JSON. So the most important part in the Packer is the build, because this build is basically responsible for creating the Windows image, or maybe a Linux image. Not typically Windows, but any kind of image. Builder is responsible for it. So again, moving to my blog, you have the link directly, which I opened and showed you, so you can go there. Then This is what I said, that you have to understand the builders, because the builders is actually responsible for creating virtual, I mean, like the creating the virtual machines and generating images from those machines for basically any platform. It can be Azure, it can be GCP, it can be VirtualBox, it can be Amazon, you name it. And this is where is the link, again, that where do you go to builders. So again, if I go to my to the actual website, and if I click on builder, okay, so you go here, builder, and then you click on overview. So you land up into this page. I again browse back to my blog post, and here you see that the type of builder which I'm using is plugin, because this plugin is basically responsible. You see that this plugin is responsible for, like, creating the VM image for EC2 VM and everything. So if I click on plugin out here, then you see that you land up into all the kind of providers where you can build the image. It can be Ali Cloud, it can be Amazon, Ansible, Azure, Cloud Stack, you name it, DigitalOcean, anything. So our provider here is Azure, and that is what we are going to be focusing on. Again, the link is provided out here. So I have written down exactly what I'm doing is what is written in the blog. So I clicked on plugin and I landed up into this page. You see Azure. And then if you click on Azure, then you see that you will have an Azure RM builder, uh, which basically supports the building of virtual hard disk and manage images in Azure Resource Manager. This is the most important part. So again, just to show you, click on Azure and then you get everything. You get all the components that, okay, what it is required, how to authenticate, what all thing is required. Now, as I said that you needed a service principal. Here it is completely written in a very clear way that in order for Packer to authenticate, it needs a subscription ID, it needs a tenant ID, it needs a service principal client ID and service principal secret. That's how it requires, that is what is required. Now, this is essentially very, very important, to understand. Whenever you are dealing with some tooling and automation, it's very important that you understand the documentation hierarchy and how you are going to approach. Because if you don't understand that, it would be very, very difficult for you to narrow down, because you will be going on and on, and slowly you will, when you start to retrace the path, that okay, how did I reach there, you will be lost because you don't know that from where you began, because you troubleshooted so much. That is why it is very, very essential to understand. And this is why when I wrote the blog post, I was writing in a way that, okay, what happens if a guy who doesn't have any Packer experience is doing for the very, very first time, and how my blog should be helping people, or technology enthusiast, I mean, who wants to play around with a tool called Packer. So this is how it is. And then then comes the Packer template, and this is where I have put down the Packer template. If anybody who is familiar with Terraform, it's exactly like that. It's just like we have a source block, and then the source block has the provider, which is the Azure RM, because this is responsible for building the image, and then we have the custom name. Once we have that, then what I have is a subscription ID. Since it's the first time I'm building Packer and I'm using Packer CLI and everything. So what I did is, I created a very, very basic template, where I'm just providing the value, because, the whole idea is that, that people should understand that how you're creating the Packer template, because this is the only important part. Because if the template is wrong, then nothing will work. So this is very, very important. So you have to specify subscription ID, tenant ID, client ID, and client secret, which I mentioned. Then, what should be the, the managed image name. So, I provided an image name. Okay, that, once the image is created, what should be the name of the image? Where this image should be located, which resource group. So this is the resource group. Communicator is again Windows Resource Manager, we mentioned. The offer is Windows Server, and this is Microsoft Windows Server, which is a SKU, location, what is the type, size, family, and all kind of things. This is like, you get everything from the Packer documentation. There's nothing like which I have to, bang my head to create it. No, it was not like that. It's a pure Packer documentation from where I created this. And then, Once the source has been defined that, okay, you want to like, this is all the parameters with which, I want to build an image, then, the build is actually the block which is creating the whole image with the parameters provided. Okay. And this is how I'm calling it that, it has a source parameter, which is basically calling my this source. And, you see that source dot, again, the provider, which is Azure RM, and the custom name, which I have given AM image. So if anybody, again, is familiar with Terraform, the nomenclature is exactly the same. And then we have the provisional block, and the provisional block is a PowerShell. It's again like a, how would I say that? It's a it's a null resource provider, in Terraform, we have this null resource provider where if you want to, if any of the providers is missing and you want to run Terraform code, then you inject a PowerShell inside Terraform and make it run. So here, what we are doing is within the Packer template, what I'm doing is, okay, I am building a vanilla Windows image, but what happens like, if I want to, for example, install a VLC player, or maybe I want to install a Chrome, or maybe some other software application, because when I'm building an image, I don't want to build a vanilla image. Of course, I could have a vanilla image, but most of the time the requirement is that, with a set of toolings, the whole image with the operating system is created, so that whenever I'm creating a VM out of a VM out from that image, it's a ready to go VM. I don't have to then enter into that VM, log in into that VM, and start installing softwares. That is not the purpose. The purpose is that, I have a golden image with all the application clubbed in, build an image, and then I'm using it in my production. That is how. So here the provision of PowerShell is basically used for that, where you can, inject either the Windows features or an external third-party software. You can inject anything with the provisioner block. That is how it is. So this is all about the code. Then become that, okay, what I try to mention out here is that, it's very important for a blogger is that, you are doing, when you're preparing a blog, you are basically doing in your local system. But when somebody is reading your blog, he or she doesn't understand what your local system looks like. Because, when I'm reading somebody else's blog, I have these kind of problems, and this is what I, from time to time, not always successful, but from time to time, I try to mitigate with my blog is that and I try to give everybody a glimpse of my local environment, that, okay, how I'm running it, so that, they replicate the same on their environment, so that they don't feel any problem and they can understand better. So this is what I try to say, that, I have, like, I downloaded my Packer executable. I created a folder called Packer in my C drive of my local machine. And inside that, what I'm doing is I'm basically I basically have my Packer executable, and I also have my Packer HCL template, so that, people knows that, okay, when Arindam is executing this code and everything, or this template, where is the template located? Where is the Packer executable in his local environment? So of course, you can customize it later, but at the very beginning, it's always good that, you just follow somebody's blog post just blindly, because the moment everything runs perfectly, you get that confidence. And once you get that confidence drives you to play around a bit more, move to the left, move to the right, and you can do it. But if on the first attempt, if you are not able to run it, even following the things, the morale goes a little bit down. I'm just telling you all the things which I face. And this is what I always try to do, that, and I try to give a glimpse, a sneak peek about the local environment, because it's very, very essential, because everybody has their own environment set in a very, very different way. So this is why I wrote this one. This is very important. Then I wrote that all the commands which I use. So I initialize the packer. Again, when I'm using cpacker dot, it means that the current directory where my code and everything, my template resides. Then again, formatting my packer template. This is basically like, the packer template, when you're writing in a VS Code, and you don't have like any extension for formatting your code and everything, then it's always good that you run a formatting command so that the indentation and everything is aligned and it looks prettier. So this is what this command is doing. Then you validate a packer, that okay, this validate is what it does. It tells that okay, the packer HCL template which you have built is the configuration valid. That's all it's going to say. Because if this is valid, then essentially you should not face any kind of troubles in the build part. And finally, build part, my apologies, the command here is wrong. I will correct it. What I will do is let's correct it right now, because I don't want things to be. So what I will do out here is, yes, it was right in the middle. So initialize, format, validate, and build. So this should be, the command should be here, build. That's all. So I will save the changes. Okay. Cool. So I will scroll down. Apologies for that, guys. I mean, like I didn't get a chance to proofread, but I will definitely, again, cross-check. I will scroll down a little bit more. So yes, so now you see that you have the initialization command, you have the format command, you have the validate command, and then you have the build command. And this is what it has been built. Remember that when you're building the command, you have to mention the name of the template, because for validate and formatting and for initialization, you are just giving the current directory where the template existed. But for build, you have to mention the name of the template. I only faced one problem while creating this template. I was lucky that when I build the template, I did not. I got this error called the unknown source type, which is Azure RM. This was only because my plugin was not installed. Now you can do it in two ways. One, you can put the plugin installation code in your HCL template, or you can install the plugin directly into the compute where you are running the packer. So what here in the screenshot as a part of resolution, if you see on the very top, what I did is like I this way, like this was giving me an error and validate. Now what I did is I installed the plugin, and the installation of plugin command is this. And you see that here, that on the first side, I just installed a plugin directly in my compute. I didn't put this code in my template. That is how I resolved it. And then I ran the init and everything, and it was successful. And finally I built the whole image. You see the image. And once the image has been built, and now you can see it in Azure portal. A little bit about what happens. So when the Packer build command runs, it is basically creating an actual virtual machine in your subscription in a temporary resource group. It will deploy a virtual machine, a key vault, a public IP, and you name it, all the necessary components required for a virtual machine. It will deploy everything. Then it will create an image out of that VM. And once the image is created, it will delete the whole virtual machine and all its components along with the temporary resource group. And the only thing which will be left is the VM image. That is the whole process happening. And it closely takes 7 to 8 minutes. And we will shortly run it. And this is what I tried to show, that, okay, this is in this screenshot, this is a temporary resource group. And in the temporary resource group, you have this whole components which are here. And finally, you have this image.
Quick thing here, Arindam. There was a feedback from comments. Can you make it a bit bigger, because they are not able to see it?
Sure.
Yeah, if possible, can make it bigger.
Is this
Uh,
okay?
Let me see, from the comments. It looks fine to me, but it's hard for them to read.
Yeah,
Uh,
I know, I know.
yes.
But yeah, I mean, like, yeah. But I
Yeah,
have now made it like, close to 300 in my screen. So hopefully they can see it. I can make a little bit. This would be okay. I think so.
All right, yeah, thank you for doing that. Yeah, hopefully this would be easier for viewers to see. But yeah, I believe the part of the streaming it is 720 resolution, but after it's recorded to YouTube, you can have much higher resolution to watch it. Just for the readers. Thank you.
Okay. So then, since I have now went through all the essential parts, how like, I build it, what I will do is I will quickly do it. And I will go to my virtual machine where I have done. You see that, what I do is I normally test my code before. So I ran the code, it worked and everything. So I'm going to run the code again, but I just wanted you to show that this is what, I'm doing. So I am basically initializing it, and then I'm validating my code, and then I'm so just without wasting any time, let's do it. Before I do it, I just wanted you to show one more thing, is that this is the resource group which I have created out here. So this is a resource blank. uh, as I said that, I have this, if I go to my IAM, and if I go to my role assignments and everything, and if I put it to this resource, you see that, oh, this is a resource group. Apologies. I have to go to my subscription. Hold on, not this one, but yeah. So if I go to the subscription, which I have out here, if I go to my IAM, what I did is, like, in the role assignment, and if I click on this resource, you see that, I have this AM Packer SPI. So this is my service principal, which I have created for my Packer authentication. And this is what has the contributor rights on the subscription level. I didn't do it in the resource group level. Now, when I went into the subscription, and if I go to my resource group, okay, what happened? Just a second, guys. I think something is not working. Yeah, sorry. Somehow the connection got lost. Okay, so now if I go to my resource group out here, you see that everything is empty and there is nothing, and this is where and everything is going to be created. So now if I go here, and um, what I will do is I will just clear the screen for you guys, and then, I have the commands out here, so I'm not going to type it. So you see that, it's packer.exe, then init, and then C users, everything out here. I have my folder where I have created, and this is a placeholder. Okay, so basically this is the path, and I have just one file. Okay, now if I go to my Visual Studio Code out here, and if I show you, so this is my whole thing which is there. Okay, good. Now what I will do is, I will simply run the init command. You see that, no plugin requirement found, which means that, the plugin is already installed. Now what I will do is I will run the validate command. Okay, it shows that the configuration is valid. Okay, now what I will do is I will simply run the build command, and you see the build command is here. So now, when I'm running the build command out here, hopefully it should not fail, because normally what happens is that you are very much prepared, but then at the time of demo, something always fails. But yeah, I'm very hopeful that this will work. So when it starts building, what you can see is out here is, you see that, a temporary resource group, this one gets created, and you will see that all the resources are popping up slowly as soon as, it starts to run. Okay, let's see. It will take a little bit time, guys, but I'm pretty sure that it will start populating. Perfect. So it has little bit progress. So let's see that how it has progressed. Okay, good. So now we see that we have a public IP address, key vault, network interface, an IC, disk, virtual machine, and a virtual network. Everything it is coming up. So basically, these are the components which are associated with a virtual machine, and that gets created. And then it is now provisioning the PowerShell script. In the PowerShell script, what I did is like I just installed an IIS, and when I installed an IIS, it's just to check, nothing else. I could have done anything else, but and I took the simplest example of IIS. And then there is also like a command mentioned out here where you are actually, since you are creating the image, it cannot be that that it is a very very static kind of an image. It has to be a generalized image which can be used across all the environments. And that is where we are running a little bit of a sysprep command, which is again provided by Packer and Azure. And this is what I did. So this is what the provisioner block is running the PowerShell code and everything. So let's see. It normally takes a little bit of a time. Last time I saw that it was close to 7-8 minutes, but it should be pretty fast. Do I have anything here extra? Nope. I think all the components are already deployed. We just have to wait to see that it progresses. Perfect. So you can see that the provisioning of PowerShell script, all the things and everything which I wanted to do is ready. And now since it is creating the image, so it is telling me that okay, the image preparation is going on, but the state at the moment is undeployable. You see that out here. So here it's undeployable. So you will see eventually that the state will change and everything, and then you will see the whole deployment process. So once this is complete, what we will do is, since when we are running the Azure DevOps, also when we are going to show the same process, but not this time with command line, but with the pipeline, what we will do is, we will go in a reverse way. I will show you first that, I will run the pipeline, and then I will come to my blog post for the explanation, so that, we are not waiting for the execution to be completed. It will save us a little bit of a time. So, so let's wait for this to complete, and then we will progress.
All good, Arindam. So if you want, you can also check the settings on your video. Sometimes there's like this high resolution that you can pick up. Not sure
Okay.
if that would help with the text because it appears as a blurred, and some users
Okay.
put that in the comment. But if you want, we can do the following as well. You shared already about the blog post that you're going through. If you can
Yeah.
put the link there in the in the chat, private chat that we have, I will bring it to the studio and put that there so people can click on it.
Sure. Sure. I will do that.
All right.
Just in a minute now, because it just is getting completed. Um, so since Elkin has asked me, so what I will do is, this is the one where I'm going to put that Yeah, so this is a blog post, and this is the GitHub. Yep, this is the GitHub. Good. Okay, perfect. So I have given you that. And now I will go back to my Packer and okay, good. So here you see that everything is going as per thing. So as per the automation. And now if I go back to the resource group, let me increase the font out here. If you can, guys can see now. Now you see that, so this is my AM Packer RG. It is still creating the image. The image is yet not populated. And now you see that you see on the very last part where is like, the image is getting captured. So at the moment, that is why, it's still not, it is still not showing up. But this is where, the image is actually getting captured. And now you see that the image has been captured. And now what they are doing is they are just deleting everything. So if I refresh it out here, you will see that the image got created. Now, if I quickly go back and if I am quick out here, you will see that, here everything will start be deleting. You see that the virtual machine is already deleted because it's not there. You only have virtual network, disk, network interface, keyboard, public IP. The machine is not there. Again, network interface gone. So it is now deleting everything. And slowly this whole thing will be deleted. And the only thing which will be left is the image. So this is something, where we are. This is how the whole process looks like. Apologies, guys, that the font is a little bit less, but I'm pretty sure that the way I'm trying to tell you guys, you are able to follow it. So now I mean, like you see that the cleanup request is getting completed. Let's see if it exists. So if I go here, you will not. You see that this resource group, it doesn't exist. It's gone because it's been deleted. It's been deleted. Now the only thing left is AM Packer, and this is the image which has been getting created. If I go back to the prompt, you see that the prompt came back. It was successfully executed. It took the whole process took 8 minutes and 23 seconds. And this is what I wanted to present as a part of my first series. Now, being conscious of time, let's look into the part. So since, I have the same image name, what I will do is and I have to run the automation with CI/CD pipeline, what I will do is I will simply just go and delete this resource, because then it will allow me to recreate it. So I'm going to delete it because I will be running with the same name. Okay, so I'm just deleting the image. Okay, now coming back to the pipeline part. So this is the part where I'm going to show you that as a part of my next series. So I'm not going to explain you everything because, I already explained that HashiCorp Packer, how it works and everything, but how I am integrating with Azure DevOps, that is the only part I'm going to explain you. So before I explain you, what I will do is I will first check whether the image got deleted. Yes, it got deleted. Perfect. Now I will just minimize it, and I already have the DevOps pipeline here. So before I explain you the code, I will first execute the code because it will take time, and then during that time I can do the explanation part. So I already have my Packer code out here. You see that I have this Packer YAML file, which is basically the pipeline code, and then I have a next version. Now what you see out here is that this is the code which I'm going to use, and this is the pipeline code. This is a code repository. Now when I go to my pipelines, the way I do it is like, for each of my automations in the pipeline, I just create one folder. Let me increase the font as well. Okay. So what I will do out here is like, for everything, for every automation inside pipeline, I create a folder, because then, it helps me to categorize my pipelines. Then I don't have to look into bunch of pipelines, but I can go to a folder, go inside the folder. I know that, okay, for this automation, this is my pipeline. So this is how I do it. I click on this one, and then, this is my thing. If you edit the pipeline, you will see the whole code and everything out here, what I have written. But I will come back to the later. What I will do is Packer 1.0. I will just run the pipeline. Now, earlier, what I was doing in my code was that, the subscription ID, tenant ID, um, service principal, client ID, and my secret. All I was passing natively, like for command line. But this is more like, a production ready code, where what I'm doing is I'm keeping all these four essential parameters and their values, the key value pair, in the key vault. And during my pipeline run, I have a key vault task from where I am fetching the keys, and then I'm utilizing them in the pipeline itself, so that, my key value pair is not nakedly available where anybody can sneak peek it. They only need to have the key vault. They need to have the key vault. They need to have the key vault things, and that would be something very important. See. Just a second, guys. I'm just running up out of my laptop charge. Just a second. I didn't realize that, but yeah. Yep. So I'm back. So then this is the key vault and everything. So this is something, where I'm just providing the key vault. This is more like a runtime parameter. And then I will just click on run. Okay. So it is just building, and you will see that it is still building the Packer image. Let it start, and then, I will switch back to my blog post. Perfect. So let it complete, and then we'll come back. Now, coming to my second part. Here, again, it's the same things. The code repository is again the same, but the most important part is this one. I mean, the 02. So you click on 02, you will have the pipeline code out here. It's entire pipeline code. This is the template. And this is a README where it is just the version control of my blog. Okay, cool. So now when I come back to this blog post, what I did is like, again, these all information is all the same. I'm just saying that, I'm using the CI/CD platform as Microsoft Azure. In the prereq, I just extended a little bit, because you need subscription, resource group, again, service principal, of course, but service principal contributor you also need a DevOps organization and project, and you also need a service connection. And finally, you need a key vault with 4 secrets: Azure subscription, tenant ID, service principal client ID, and the principal secret. Okay, this is something. Now, earlier in my code, if you see in the code, if you go back here, and if you see my first code, you see that, I have these blocks mentioned out here, like, key value. This is a key, and this is a value. This is how. But you see that, this is a V2 version of my Packer template, which I create out here. But what I did is I have defined variables for all these. And these variables basically have null value, because these variable values are coming from the key vault. And this is where I'm using it. So I'm just referring the variables, but those values are coming from key vault. This is the most important part. Rest, everything is same in the template. Now, coming to the part where we have the YAML pipeline. So again, I have kept the trigger as none. You don't need anything. Okay. 1 second. Yeah. So you don't need anything like Mm, oh, okay. So here in this part, yeah. So what I did is, you saw that, there was a key vault name, right? So that key vault name, I was passing as a runtime parameter. So this is a runtime parameter. Then what we did is, then we have this, all the service connection, build agent, and the Packer file location. I passed it as variables. Okay. So that, if you want to change based on your own local setup, you can do it, or your repo, wherever you are creating, whatever is, maybe your service connection name is different. Then again, the build agent, I'm using the Azure hosted build agent. I'm not using any self-hosted, but it is more Microsoft hosted build agent. And then I have a stage called build packer. The job name is build image packer, which is building. The first task which is happening is the key vault task, from where it is downloading all the secrets. Of course, you can specify individual secrets just to be more secure, but for the purpose of demo, I selected star, which means that all. And then, what I'm doing is I'm running an Azure CLI, where I'm just running the same commands which I was natively running from a PowerShell prompt. So what I'm doing is I'm running an inline script with PowerShell. I'm running the Packer command first to check whether the Microsoft hosted compute agent already has a Packer. If it has a Packer, the second thing I'm installing the plugin for Azure RM. And the third thing is I'm passing those secrets as a command line parameter. You see client ID, client secret, subscription ID, all these things. I'm also making sure that on error it is aborting, and I'm forcing the Packer file, the whole universal path taken, so that it is taking the Packer file as an input and running it. This is all which is happening in the YAML file. No rocket science and nothing. And now let's see in the path. So you see out here that the first thing is it is checking out all my codes. It is basically fetching all the secrets. I have a lot of secrets and everything. So, it is getting downloaded. So again, you see that subs ID, tenant ID, these are client ID, client secrets. This is relevant to this demo. The rest of the secrets is being used in other automations. And then basically I'm running the build image out here. So it is now logging to my subscription. It ran the Packer command. You see the help. And now it is basically deploying everything. So it is running again, it has deployed all the resources. If you go out here, if I go to the resource group, you will see again that a temporary resource group has been created with all the things. Same thing, similar thing which we saw it in the first demo. Everything the same. Let me increase a little bit more if you guys can see it. Yeah, so it's the same thing again. So far in the image, nothing has been created because the resource is still getting provisioned. You see that it is still getting provisioned and everything. So yeah, so again, it's the same path going on, and we will see that slowly it will get completed. It also takes closely another roughly 2 or 3 minutes more because it will take some time. But yeah, so you see that the image state is complete. Now the image state is again undeployable. So it is getting created. Let's see if the image got created. Still getting created. Okay, we have to wait a couple of minutes more. Last time my pipeline ran for close to 10 minutes. So we are like 6 minutes 25 seconds at the moment. So let's see. It should happen any minute now. Still deploying. Okay. Cool. So it is querying it. Let's see if we have the image. We still don't have it. We are almost there because, based on my estimation, we are still, I mean, like, 1 minute left. So I think, the image would be yes. The capturing of image will immediately start. So you see that, it has already started out here. You see the capturing of the whole image. So this is getting captured and everything. It could be like, much faster. I believe, based on my experience, that if you're doing on a self-hosted agent, because again, this is a Microsoft hosted agent, the resources are less, computers less. So it takes a little bit more time. So you see that the image has been created. Let's see out here. So you see that, with the pipeline, I have now created the whole image using Packer and Azure DevOps. And now the pipeline is doing the cleanup job. You see that the deleting virtual machine deployment and its attached resources. So it is just now just doing the cleaning process. In another 10 or 20 seconds, this will be over. So again, apologies, guys, if you could, like, could not see it, if the font is less or something, but I'm pretty sure that, when you look into this video and go through my 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 repository, which is here, you see I've given the link. And if you go through my uh, through the whole series, then you can probably see everything. Let's see the last bit, and you see that the pipeline is now successful. So
Hi, hi, Arindam. Just quick question. Thank you. I think that providing the link definitely helped the users
yeah,
for doing that. There's a question from Alan. He's our
mm,
in a long-term
yeah,
uh, long-term session attender and one of the great commenters there. He has
mm.
a question. Can you use WIF instead of service principal?
Yeah, that's a good question, Alan. I have yet not checked it because for my Terraform codes and everything, I have switched to the Workload Identity Federation, the WIF. I can quickly, show you that, I already have those automations. So if you go to my repository and if you scroll a little bit down, you see that the first thing which I did, it was last year somewhere, which I did, is this is the automation. Uh, which is basically creating this whole WIF. So this is the WIF part, which I'm creating with Terraform. And then what I'm doing is I'm attaching it to my Azure DevOps and everything. So I'm doing that first. And then in the second automation, what I'm doing is I'm using the same WIF for my Terraform deployment. So I have a 10th of October and a 12th of October things, which I have already tested it out, but I haven't yet tested for Packer. But this is a use case which is already there in my mind. And that is why, Alan, I said that, I'm going to extend this series a lot. So this is just a beginning. Apologies that I don't have a better answer at the moment.
No problem. Thank you for addressing that question. That's awesome. And yeah, if there's any other questions, feel free to put them in the comments. I'm watching them. Thank you. Uh, so, Arindam, I know that you almost concluded your presentation.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanna, because it's the end of the session, if somebody missed the beginning, is there any resources yet that you would recommend people to check?
No, I think my blog post and my GitHub link is all the things which I have. I can only give you the official the Packer link, which is of course not available, but I can also put it in the chat because I read this documentation and I gave it here. I built everything, so I'm going to, as I said, that my focus is to increase the series and everything, and of course, I will definitely try out what Alan mentioned, and this would something would be coming up.
All right, I put that information in the comments. Thank you for providing that.
Yeah.
Um, this was really, interesting session again. Thank you for putting this and demonstrating both approaches that
Yeah.
you mentioned in the beginning.
Mhm.
Um, and thank you everyone for watching and putting the questions. We had some comments from Heini, if I pronounce your name correctly. Hopefully, we have Alan and we have Emelina and some other, people who put the comments there by greeting the session and plus saying that this is a very interesting topic. So if
Mhm.
you plan to do the next kind of phase two or phase three in terms of the findings and interesting thing that you think the readers and viewers should know about,
Yeah.
you're more than welcome to continue these sessions. That what I see from the comments.
Yeah, absolutely. This along with my, I'm actually basically started this Packer one, and there's also another one which is called Terraform CDK,
Mm-hmm.
uh, where normally where a developer doesn't have to learn Terraform, but using TypeScript and Python, they
Yes.
can build the same infrastructure. So I'm basically running these two series at the moment. I'm evaluating a lot, and I will definitely come back, as soon as I have a little bit more content ready.
Sure. Yeah, you're welcome. And Arindam, for the users and the people who will watch this session a bit later,
Mhm.
uh, do you want to again put your social contacts so that they know how to reach back to you if they have any
Sure,
questions on the blog post or on the session itself? If you can put
sure.
that there for everyone,
Yeah,
that would be great. And
absolutely. I will just put
mhm,
the first thing I'm going to put is like, I'm putting my GitHub link, which has everything.
mhm.
And then, this is my blog post, which I'm sharing with you. So this is my blog post. And then, I have my session eyes and everything.
Okay, sure. Let me put the.
Yeah, my session eyes and this is my LinkedIn. So this is something, and of course my Twitter. This is all everything. But if somebody goes to my GitHub, they can
Yeah.
find these links.
Yeah,
So
I put the link, the GitHub first, and then LinkedIn there. So I think that would be enough to find
right,
you on social media and get in touch with you. But other
absolutely,
than that, I wanna just give a teaser here that join us next week. We'll have another beautiful session. This one about is going to about automating your golden image creation using the AWS platform and image builder there. So it would be nice kind of continuation, and that's has some, I would say, relevance to everyday DevOps people who are dealing with image building. That's
absolutely.
it. Thank you, Arindam, for your session. It was
Yeah.
very informative. We got some good interaction in the comments. And thank you, everyone who spent their time watching and asking questions and trying to learn about Packer. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, everyone. Bye, Arindam.
Guys, see you. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.